Thousands of children just trying to grow up in these neighborhoods where 100,000 gang members roam the streets.
The city prepares for the cold winter months ahead.
Others are still on the streets despite the dangerous cold.
Hey everyone, so this past winter we did a 24/7 charity live stream that ultimately raised $56,000 for the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless. That was ultimately raised by the TFIL community, and again, we can't thank you enough for your support during that time. That was of course during the polar vortex when the homeless living on the streets were in absolute immediate danger. Temperatures reached as far as -30 degrees. So we decided to take a trip to Chicago so we can work hands-on with the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless to better understand what they're doing, what people are going through here, and why it is so hard for so many of these people to regain their footing in society. According to the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, there are around 80,000 people who are either homeless or housing unstable within city limits. CCH was a perfect organization for us to talk to because 1/3 of their staff have been homeless themselves.
Homelessness isn't just people living on the streets. Sure, there are definitely folks on the streets who are experiencing homelessness, but they're actually a minority of the people experiencing homelessness.
Doubled up is a term used for people who are temporarily staying in friends or family's houses while not on a lease.
The hardest job you can have is being poor. What it takes to try to get your life together when systems are working against you, when you don't have money.
The first thing we wanted to look at is how people end up homeless in the first place.
There's a lot of different reasons people enter into homelessness, and it's not just a single adult man. It's families, it's kids. When we look at the kids we work with, couch surfing and Doubled Up, just finding a place to study when they get home from school is next to impossible.
Starting at a young age, your environment has an enormous impact on how you develop, and Chicago has extremely high crime rates. And when there are 100,000 gang members spread throughout 60 gangs, it makes it extremely easy for children to get sucked into that lifestyle. CCH's senior organizer Keith explained to us how his upbringing, just like many, led him into a life of drugs and gangs.
I grew up in Inglewood. I grew up in a drug-infested environment. All my friends were drug dealers. All my friends got high. All my friends were in gangs, and they were in my classroom too.
You know what I'm saying? Here I am, 13 years old, hanging out in a shooting gallery. What a shooting gallery is, where people go and shoot they dope. I wind up making a lot of bad choices, doing a lot of bad things.
Yes, I've been homeless, sure have. I struggled with a lot of events in my life. Addiction was one of them, but that probably was the biggest problem.
And aside from addiction, various other health issues have an enormous impact on people's lives. For people who are on disability or fixed income, rising rent prices often push people out of their homes.
Back in '91, I messed up my spine, so they put me out of work. I got approved for disability. I was living in an SRO. They stole the building I live in, and that put me on the street.
I had a life before being homeless. I'm a minister, and I was an opera singer before that. I started having arthritic changes, and then one thing led to another, and so we're in a situation where we haven't saved a lot, and it's like, oh my God, what do we do?
I ended up homeless due to a knee operation. I had to depend on state-funded money.
Along with environment and health problems, there are simply an infinite amount of unforeseen circumstances that can put somebody on the streets.
Well, for me, my son got killed. I got 4 boys. My oldest son got killed the end of September 2017. So after that happened, I wasn't no good. I lost my job, I lost my apartment. I mean, I wasn't no good. I was empty, So by February 1st, I was on the streets. So just imagine how quick that is from September all the way up until February. I was kind of a month or so behind on my rent at that time. But then when that happened, I just said, fuck it. Like, my mind gone. I got to go to the coroner's office. I'm crying every day. Could nobody make me feel better. Didn't want to get out the bed, didn't want to move, just couldn't talk to my other kids, you know, they fucked up in the head, you know, and he was only 21. He just made 21. He's still a baby, you know, so he was a good child, very smart, you know, had everything in front of him, just wrong crowd, wrong friends, wrong place at the wrong time type shit. So each and every day I still be sad, depressed, but I can't just fall over and rot.
Or look at my situation. I got caught with a taser and they charged me with a UUW. So I was working Amazon and Lyft. My last ride or delivery package would be at like 1 in the morning. I had it for safety. I'm a woman doing Amazon in Chicago on the south side, on the west side. I have no priors. This is my first time, my first offense. And unfortunately with that felony, that's the whole thing that has found me having challenging finding employment.
We have seen homelessness grow in every community across this nation, whether it be Seattle, New York, Los Angeles, Chicago, or small towns in rural parts of our country. We see the number of people that are not able to find stable, affordable housing.
We wanted to know what day-to-day life is like for people living on the streets, so we were brought to this encampment that they call Tent City, located on the side of an on-ramp.
I work a job, so I'm trying the best way I can. Psychologically, it get messed up to, you know, some nights is good, some nights is bad. It be wind out here, 10 start collapsing. So when your home collapse, you can't worry about work, you know, you gotta worry about where you gonna lay your head, you know. It's very scary being homeless, especially a woman, you know. You know how people is, you know, you got some people, they not right. They try to rape you, they try to assault you, anything. So I just been watching over her, and actually it has worked because I've kept guys off of her. I have a room that I can go to right now and be warm. I have a room. I pay the girl money every month. I can go there right now, but then I don't feel good about it because I'm leaving her. You see what I'm saying? She would still be left out here, so I feel effed up if something happened to her. You feel me? It's scary and it's hard out here, man. Once she got a door she can lock behind her and they ain't got to worry about all this fray, she can get to work. She's very capable of working, but right now, you know, we need each other to get through this madness out here.
Tent City receives no help from the city other than cleaning notices. However, we went to an encampment in Alderman Rose's ward where the residents were provided with cleaning supplies.
This is an encampment at Belmont and Kizzy, totally different from the area where we just came from. They provide them with dumpsters. You know, they come through and they do regular cleanings. These individuals, they maintain the area themselves. This is actually an encampment that was opened up by Alderman Rosa. It's not an alternative to housing, but we know where they at. You know, if somebody here needs services, we know how to reach them. You know, an encampment might exist one day, the next day it's gone. A lot of them miss out on housing opportunities because you can't locate them.
Like, nobody wants to be out here. Like, we're not like, yeah, let's go live under the bridge. No, it's like, damn, we don't have nowhere to go tonight. We need somewhere dry and warm.
It's a sad thing because a lot of people out here, they're not even drug addicts. We're not drug addicts, you know, and
everything is in limbo. So now I'm still applying for jobs before my phone gets turned off. So now it's a race against time. So my plan is to get a job and keep moving, but like I said, it's extremely challenging.
It's real hard out here, you know, people need people.
It's a day-to-day struggle. You go home, you can lock your door, you know what I'm saying, close your windows, take your clothes off, take your bath, get up under your sheets and stuff like that. But I had to sleep in all my clothes 24/7. I slept in abandoned buildings, I slept in alleys, I slept in parks, I rode the train all night. I went out there to O'Hare, I don't know how many times. I slept out there.
I had to live in churches, drug treatment facilities, psych wards, hospitals. I stayed on the trains. I lived in cars. I lived in other people's living rooms, sleeping on couches.
A person that never lived on the streets don't know the stress that, you know, an individual will go through. I mean, I used to just sit on benches for hours trying to figure out what I'm gonna do next, where I'm gonna get my next meal. I lost my dignity, I lost my self-esteem out there in those streets. Those streets is unforgiving.
And the fact is, many homeless people are currently working.
But I know that the times that I've gone out and visited the Belmont and Kedzie underpass to speak to my residents that are facing homelessness, oftentimes they're not there because they're out working. They're at a job site. And it's just unfortunate because the sporadic work that they're able to find isn't enough to provide them with a roof over their head because rent is increasing so exponentially in the city of Chicago and in the cities across the U.S.
I got up and went to work every day, and I still had to live in a shelter because I couldn't afford housing.
I can afford housing, I just can't find it.
Where will you sleep tonight?
Where am I going to sleep tonight? In the park, out by the lake. Right now I got I got a blanket to sleep with tonight, and the rest of it I'll use as a pillow. I put a pallet here, I lay down my bedding, and I go to sleep. And then in the morning when I get up, I put the table back up against the wall, I pack up my stuff, and I take off, go do what I got to do.
Wintertime is the worst time for a homeless person.
Chicago will see its coldest temperatures in nearly 25 years on Wednesday.
City buses are being called into service as homeless shelters.
That polar vortex, like my tears were freezing up. I was out here crying because he ended up out here, unfortunately, when it was 30 degrees below. I took this so hard that he joined me in the streets. Like, what the heck? Couldn't help but think it's illegal to leave your dogs out in winter. Like, it's against the law. How are we left outside?
I slept on them 6 quilts and all my clothes and was still cold.
People often use heaters in their tents, and they're literally killing each other over them.
Unfortunately, we had a death the end of February, so somebody did get their life taken out here over a heater, over a few heaters. Someone went in the tent and stole some heaters, and the word got back, and you know.
One of the things that the city is doing is putting up fences where they don't want people sleeping.
So this area right here is, you know, what is historically known as the Triangle. It's here on Lower Wacker Drive, and this area on both sides used to be completely full of homeless people living on the street. And in a manner to, you know, address this and displace people, this is how the city responded. You know, they've been trying to get them out of here for the longest, so they decided to just erect, you know, wrought iron gates and displace everybody. Not too many people were given housing because, you know, there's not enough housing in the city to provide for, you know, over 80,000 people homeless. So this is how the city, you know, addresses homelessness. Pushing them from one area to the next.
Throughout the city of Chicago, what we have seen, unfortunately, in some instances, is some of my own colleagues saying that they want to make homeless people's lives more difficult so that they'll move someplace else.
And that's exactly what happened to Robert. He was staying in a tent with all of his personal belongings in it. While he went to try to find work, he returned to all of his possessions and medicine thrown into a garbage truck.
We left to go find pallets and, you know, something to take to the scrapyard to earn some money to get something to eat that particular morning. When I came back, it was a garbage truck there. Everything that I had, my possessions, you know, sentimental stuff, pictures, obituaries, you know, letters, you know, my medications, you know, a lot of very important stuff, you know, that I had that was taken from me at the particular time. Not only was it taken, it was thrown in the garbage truck. I'm at my lowest point. You know what I'm saying? I'm homeless. I mean, I ain't bothering nobody.
Not only did the city throw out irreplaceable personal belongings, they also threw out medication that was crucial to Robert's health. CCH helped him get a lawyer and sue the city. Robert won the case and is now living in a home on disability.
Don't nobody want to go in those shelters, you know. We free out here, you know, free element, you know, so when you go in the shelter, you gotta abide by rules, laws.
All the shelters are full. people steal from you in shelters because unfortunately some people are drug addicts,
and it's not safe.
And
they're not safe.
Women get raped in centers.
They're not safe.
You know, she's been approached a couple times, and thank God I was there to defend her.
Yeah.
We started to get the idea that some people didn't like or trust the shelters, so we decided to go to one and talk to one of the current residents.
The way to go, it go from anywhere from 6 months to a year. You have to be in the facility, in the property by a certain time, rise and shine by a certain time. If you had to be out of an establishment at 5:45 a.m., where would you go? In the heart of a winter.
We went into the shelter that wouldn't let us film. There were programs that train men and women in different skill sets, such as kitchen work, as well as creative writing workshops. They also had a board with tallies, counting how many job placements and housing placements that came out of the shelter each month. Craig explained how many of the shelters have programs as paths out of homelessness, and that's what he's currently doing.
Right now, I have completed 2 programs. I'm working on my 3rd program, and all 3 of them, it go hand in hand. You finish one, you graduate to the next one. You finish that one, you go to the next one. So that help you get job placements.
Whether or not an individual chooses to utilize these resources is up to them.
Was the resources available for me? Absolutely. It's just that I wasn't ready. I was still, my mind was on the street. I was in this one program, and it was a 6-month program. My 6 month was up, and I knew in my heart of hearts, I knew for a fact that I was going to get high again, but I was getting ready to get released, and I begged them to not let me leave, because I told them, you're going to kill me if I leave. I'm going to die out there. So I stayed at that place for a whole year, but that's what probably saved my life, because I knew I wasn't done. I knew it.
While there are some state-funded resources available, many people feel that it's simply not enough. This is why CCH started in the first place, to take matters into their own hands and try to build paths out of homelessness. One of the ways they do that is by offering college scholarships to homeless students who are in the Chicago school system. We met with Kristen, who received this scholarship. She grew up in a doubled-up environment, but despite her situation, she used every resource available to her and is now working as a teacher.
When I was in high school, I was a part of an academic program where I was a business student, and we did a co-op program where we worked downtown at Northern Trust Bank. I saw multiple black women that were my manager, supervisor, that was like, you know, boss ladies. And I was just like, you know what, I want to be like that. One day, I want to be like that. I want to have my own. I want to dress like that. I want to talk like that. I want to be everything she is. So I had gained that exposure to something else. I got accepted to 21 different colleges, so I was trying to raise money to go to school. So I got the scholarship and I went on to college all the way in South Carolina. Not only did I just graduate with my degree, my bachelor's degree, but I also graduated Senior of the Year, and I wanted to become something that people in Chicago didn't know me as. I wanted to become Kristen, the Kristen that my ideal self, and that's exactly what I went down there to accomplish, and I did.
Another way people get housing is by housing programs. However, the wait list is incredibly long and there are a number of requirements to qualify.
We were in a housing program. They helped us out with our rent for a year. And then after that year is over, and it is, and so we're on our own paying our rent. So you know what, we're never gonna be homeless again.
The reasons people enter into homelessness are complicated, right? There's a lot of different paths into homelessness, and it can happen to anyone. But the solution to homelessness is actually pretty simple. It's pretty straightforward. It's permanent housing with supports for folks. So it's a proven solution. You get people into housing, don't make any conditions on them entering into that housing, make sure it's permanent, and then provide them with wraparound services. So that could be mental health treatment, it could be chronic health issues, it could be substance use treatment, it could be job training, whatever that person needs to address the issues that cause homelessness to begin with.
As we want to see the city of Chicago increase the percent that we tax real estate purchases in the city of Chicago in excess of $1 million. And if we were to do that the way that the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless and a whole citywide coalition has proposed, that would bring in hundreds of millions of dollars to begin doing exactly what it is that we need to do to address the issue of homelessness, which is build more housing for those that are destitute and need support programming in that housing to help them get them back on their feet.
For those 80,000 people experiencing homelessness, if we can get the city to dedicate the type of funding that we're looking at, in the first year, 10,000 of those folks will have housing. So we can have an incredible impact on the number of people who are experiencing homelessness if we just put the right funding in place to make it happen.
So I think we need to understand that we need to treat each other as human beings with dignity and respect. Throwing away their belongings, trying to make their lives more difficult so they move someplace further away from you and you don't have to see the effects of, living and facing homelessness. That's not a solution. That's trying to sweep it under the rug.
Particularly when folks are on the street and you encounter someone on the street and they might be asking for money, it's up to you whether or not you're going to give them money directly. That's a personal decision. What we do say is no matter what, is treat them with the same dignity and respect that you would want to be treated with. Look them in the eye, respond to them when they're talking to you. Don't act like you don't see them. Don't act like they're not there. It's about humanity. Everybody has a story, and you'll have a better understanding of homelessness if you talk to them directly, and you'll be better able to help them.
Housing is a human right in a just society. I believe everybody in this world should have a place called home. We're good people. We made bad decisions that landed us in bad situations, but on the inside, we're real people. We care just like you do. We hurt just like you do. We get hungry like you do. We get cold like you do. Listen to somebody tell their story, and you'll be shocked at what you hear. I promise you.
Everybody has a story out here, and everyone's unique, and everybody has a different thing that they're dealing with.
Because everybody needs a second chance. The second chance is just to help them to get over, get back on their feet, to take care of their family, to survive.
I want to say this to a homeless person. Dark midnight may be your cry. Dark midnight may be your cry. Dark midnight may be your cry. But give me Jesus. Give me the Lord. Hallelujah. Amen.
All right.
Wow. That's the first time I've ever heard her sing, too. So, she's been holding this in this whole time.
I've been holding back. What the heck? I've been advocating.
Thank you everyone so much for watching this video. Of course, the most important thing you can do is share. Knowledge is key. The more people that know about this problem, the more people that can potentially help. If you want to donate directly to the Chicago Coalition for the Homeless, all of their information is down below in the description. You can check their website to learn more about what they do. And of course, if you want to support the For Sparta organization, which is what makes these videos, we are a nonprofit ourselves. You can visit our website, which is in the description. You can donate there. Various ways to help support us so that we can continue to make these videos and support others. We will of course see you in our next video, and if you guys have any suggestions of topics or nonprofits we should work with, make sure to leave it in the comment section. We are always reading them and we want to know what you guys would also like to learn more about.